On my wedding day, my ex stormed in screaming. She thought she could ruin everything until I revealed the truth that left everyone in shock. The air buzzed with excitement. White roses lined the aisle. The soft hum of string instruments floated through the garden, and laughter echoed from guests dressed in their finest. Today was my wedding day. Finally. After 2 years of healing, rebuilding, and learning to trust again, I was ready to marry the woman who made me believe in love once more. I adjusted my tie and looked in the mirror. My hands trembled slightly, not from nerves about marriage, but from something deeper. A quiet tension that had been building for weeks, because something didn't feel right. "You're up, man," my best friend Chris said, walking into the room. "You look like you're heading into a job interview, not your wedding." I gave a half-hearted chuckle. "Yeah, just a lot on my mind." As we stepped outside toward the altar, I scanned the crowd. My parents were there, beaming. My fiancé's family sat on the other side, all smiles. And then, just as I reached the front, the moment I'd silently been dreading unfolded like a slow-motion train wreck. Screaming. High heels clacked against the stone path. A familiar voice sliced through the music like a blade. "Liar! You said you loved me, Aiden!" Heads turned, gasps echoed, and there she was. Amber, my ex. Wearing a red dress that screamed revenge and eyes lit with fury, she stormed down the aisle, knocking over a flower arrangement and jabbing a finger toward me. "You said it was over because you weren't ready. But this?" she yelled, pointing at my bride, Evelyn. "You marry her? You're a liar. A damn manipulator." Evelyn turned to look at me, confusion and hurt written across her face. "Aiden, who is this?" My world narrowed. Guests whispered. The officiant froze. Chris took a cautious step forward, but I raised a hand to stop him, because I was done running. "I was hoping this wouldn't happen today," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "But since she's here, maybe it's time the truth came out," Amber scoffed. "Truth? You want to talk about truth now? You ghosted me after 2 years of dating. 2 years, Aiden." My jaw tightened. "Because you cheated on me, with my brother." The entire crowd gasped. Amber's face went pale. Evelyn stared at me. "Is that true?" "She told me it was just a mistake," I continued, voice steady. "Begged me not to tell anyone. She said it would destroy my family. So, I walked away in silence. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace." Amber's voice dropped to a hiss. "You said you wouldn't—" "Yeah," I said. "I did. But you're the one who came here and ripped the past wide open." The crowd was stunned. Evelyn looked from me to Amber, her jaw slack, but I wasn't done. "And the reason I kept quiet," I said, locking eyes with Amber, "was because I found out something else later, something that made all of this make sense. But I was saving that for a different moment. Guess that moment's now." I walked toward Amber slowly. "Do you remember the night you claimed you were at a work retreat?" Her lips parted, trembling. "That was months ago." "Yeah, except I have pictures. You were with someone, again, not just my brother. Someone else too." She spun to leave, but I grabbed a folded envelope from my pocket. "I mailed a copy to you," I said. "You never responded. Because you knew." The envelope fluttered to the ground as she ran. The crowd murmured louder, but I turned toward Evelyn. "I'm sorry this had to happen today, but the truth matters, even if it comes with chaos." Evelyn stepped forward. "Did you love her?" "I did," I admitted, "but I was blind, and I swore I'd never let someone lie to me again. That's why I told you everything from the start. No secrets." She nodded slowly. "So, what now?" I looked toward the stunned crowd. "We keep going," I said. But Evelyn's eyes flickered with something unreadable. And just like that, I knew this day had only just begun unraveling. 30 minutes later, the guests were sipping champagne while the dust settled. The ceremony had been paused, not canceled, but the energy had shifted. The hum of excitement was replaced with murmurs, stares, and the occasional awkward smile. People avoided eye contact. Some looked concerned, others curious. It was the kind of tension that clung to the air like smoke after a fire. Evelyn and I sat alone in the bridal suite, the silence between us thick and uncertain. Her dress, once pristine, had a faint smudge near the hem, like a metaphor for the day itself. Imperfect, interrupted. "I didn't know about your brother," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper.
I stared at the floor. I kept it hidden. It was humiliating. Losing someone I loved to my own blood. It broke something in me. Evelyn's hand slid into mine, soft and cautious. "I get why you didn't tell everyone. But why didn't you tell me that part?" "I wanted our relationship to be free of that baggage," I said, my throat tightening. "But maybe that was naive. Maybe you deserved to know everything. I wanted a fresh start." She sighed and leaned back, staring up at the chandelier above us. "I love you, Aiden, but today, this mess, it's not nothing." "I know," I said, and I did. Even if none of it was my fault, it had burst into our lives at the worst possible moment. Just then, my phone buzzed on the coffee table. The screen lit up with a name I hadn't seen in years. Jake. It was a text. "We need to talk. It's about Amber." I clenched my jaw. "Great," I muttered. "Now he wants to talk." "You should hear him out," Evelyn said gently. "I don't owe him anything." "Maybe not," she agreed, "but answers might help you finally close this chapter, and maybe you deserve that before we start something new." I didn't want to admit it, but she was right. Whatever fire Amber had started, I needed to walk through it one last time to make sure it was truly out. An hour later, I met Jake in the parking lot behind the venue. The sky had turned golden, the sun casting long shadows across the cracked asphalt. Jake looked rough, eyes bloodshot, shirt half untucked like he'd sprinted through his own regrets to get here. And he wasn't alone. Amber stood a few steps behind him, arms crossed, makeup smudged like a mask melting off. Her eyes met mine with that same fire I remembered, the fire that once drew me in and eventually burned me alive. "I didn't come to fight," Jake said, lifting his hands. "I came to explain." "Then talk." "I didn't sleep with Amber," he said. I blinked. "What? She told you that, right? That we had an affair?" I narrowed my eyes. "She showed me messages." "Fake," Jake said, shaking his head. "She forged screenshots. She knew you had insecurities about us getting too close, and she used that. She manipulated you into walking away before you could confront her." Amber scoffed. "Shut up, Jake." "No," he said louder. "You've done enough damage. Aiden, she lied to both of us." I turned to her, heart pounding. "Why?" Amber's voice cracked. "Because you were slipping away. You were getting distant, working late, always tired. Because I was trying to build a future for us, I snapped. You took my silence as rejection and twisted it into betrayal." Jake added, "I tried to tell you after everything happened." But she disappeared. Changed her number. Moved cities. You wouldn't even pick up my calls. I stared at him, speechless. "So, you're saying you never touched her?" "Never." Amber backed away, hands trembling. "None of it matters now. He's already with someone else." But suddenly I wasn't so sure. I had lived the last 2 years believing one version of the truth, and now it was unraveling like a badly written movie script. I didn't know what to believe anymore. What else had I misunderstood? What else hadn't I seen? Then Evelyn stepped into the lot. "I heard everything," she said. Her voice was steady, her eyes unreadable. "So now what, Aiden?" I looked between Amber and Jake, my past and my blood, lies and silence. Then I looked at Evelyn, my future maybe, if I didn't screw it up. "Now," I said slowly, "I have to decide if the person I became after all this is someone worth trusting. Because deep down, I felt it. This wasn't the end. Something else was coming, and I needed to be ready. The ceremony resumed, awkwardly. Guests shifted in their seats, sipping at their champagne with forced smiles, trying to pretend nothing had happened. But beneath the small talk and surface-level cheer, a tension lingered. A wound that had been opened just moments before was still bleeding, even if no one dared acknowledge it. Evelyn stood across from me under the floral arch, her bouquet trembling slightly in her hands. Her eyes searched mine, not just with love, but with worry, fear, maybe even guilt. The officiant cleared his throat and began. "We are gathered here today to witness the union of Aidan and Evelyn." But just as he spoke the words, a loud bang echoed through the garden. The side gate slammed open. Gasps rippled across the crowd as a man in a suit stumbled into the aisle, waving a folder over his head. "I have evidence!" he shouted. "This marriage cannot go forward." My body locked up. That voice, that face, I knew him.
The man was Randall, a private investigator I'd hired over a year ago, back when Amber's betrayal still haunted me, when I couldn't fully trust anyone, not even Evelyn. But I'd told him to drop the case months ago. He'd assured me it was closed. Apparently, he had other plans. The guests were murmuring now, glancing between each other and me. Evelyn stepped forward, her voice sharp. "Is this a joke? Who is this man?" I didn't answer. Randall opened the folder and began to speak, calm and cold. "Evelyn has been in contact with Amber for the last 6 months. Coordinated, frequent, dozens of messages, photos too, time-stamped, private meeting spots, mentions of your location and schedule, Aidan." My throat went dry. I stepped forward and grabbed the folder from his hand, flipping through page after page, screenshots of messages between Evelyn and Amber, planning, scheming. Amber's reappearance, the timing, even the dress she would wear. "Is this some kind of twisted setup?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. Evelyn's face paled. No, it's not what it looks like. I can explain." "Then explain," I snapped. She reached for me, eyes wide with desperation. "Amber reached out to me. She said she needed to come clean. I thought if you heard it from her, if you saw she was a liar, you could finally move on. I didn't know she'd pull that stunt. I just wanted you to have closure." "So you helped her crash our wedding?" I said, my voice rising. "You orchestrated this mess? I didn't mean for it to go this far. Don't lie to me again," I said. My heart was pounding like a drum inside my chest. "You made me think she was acting alone, that everything was real." Tears filled her eyes. "I did it because I love you. I thought if you faced the past, we could finally have a future." "So you created a lie, to help me get over a lie?" She didn't answer. Her silence said everything. I looked out at the crowd. Amber stood at the back, eyes wide. Jake had turned away, shame and confusion written all over his face. My parents, who had flown in from 3 states away, sat frozen in their seats, stunned, and I felt hollow, exhausted. I took a breath, then another. Slowly, I stepped back from the altar. Evelyn moved to follow, but I held up a hand. "I can't do this," I said. "Not like this." "Aidan, please." Her voice cracked. "No more lies," I said louder now. "No more setups, no more manipulation. I don't care what your intentions were. You went behind my back. You played me, just like she did." The guests looked around, some already reaching for their phones, no doubt ready to gossip about the drama. I turned to the officiant. "This wedding is cancelled." A collective gasp. Amber's mouth dropped open. Jake muttered a curse under his breath. Evelyn crumpled, sobbing now, her hands shaking, but I didn't flinch. I walked down the aisle, through the stunned silence, and past the rows of flower arrangements and shattered illusions. And for the first time in years, I felt free. Not because I was running towards someone, but because I was walking away from everything that had broken me, from the lies, from the people who thought they knew what was best for me, from the shadows of who I used to be. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. Being alone wasn't the worst thing. Being lied to by those you love, that was, and I would never let that happen again.